Okay. Here we go. You ready?
I'm ready. So welcome to this evening, and I have Dr. Justine here with us, and we're going to be talking about arthritis and how to help reduce inflammation naturally this evening. This evening, we really love your questions and your input, and we would, there's a way to share them through YouTube and or Facebook, and I will be able to monitor those ones. But please note that if you do have a question that is submitted that way, that your name will appear. An alternative is to just text the questions directly to Dr. Justine at the number below. So if you take a moment and you record that number down, there is a section at the very end, and she will be happy to discuss questions and answers. So I'd like to welcome and introduce Dr. Justine Blainey-Broker. She is a fabulous lady, so passionate in what she does. She is a chiropractor, but she's also a mom and a wife. She gives back to her community, both as a public speaker across many, many different avenues at schools and universities, public events that we coordinate, churches, but really she's really passionate about healthcare, and she's passionate about natural healthcare and making sure that you can always be the best version of who you are. So let me help introduce Justine.
All right. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday. So upcoming events before we get into arthritis, next week we're going to have core strengthening, how to strengthen your back and protect your waistline. I have coming up after that video on healthy feet, exercises for your feet, 10 of them for your toes, all the way up to your hips. So your knees, your hips. So it's about 15 minutes that you could follow along if you have plantar fasciitis, knee pain, ankle pain, bunions. We're going to cover that. Coming up is sleep, and then brain fit on Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, nutrition to protect your brain. We're going to have some yoga coming up and weight loss. So definitely stay tuned. My goal through these tough times is to have a talk every single Tuesday to be able to give back to you. And then, of course, please share them with friends and family. All right. You can catch more of these on YouTube and on Facebook. There's over 20 videos there now, and we're making a landing page on our website so that you'll be able to catch and be able to find all the videos. Some of them are just 2 minutes long, and some of them 15 minutes long, and some of them an hour. But today's focus is about arthritis. So this is a picture of my Oma and Opa. I come from a Dutch background. You'll see behind me, oops, the other way, the Dutch shoe. And over here, you'll see the tapestry that was made by my grandmother's sister-in-law, Leda. And it just reminds me that, you know, my grandma and grandpa, my Oma and Opa, they lived through the war. And my grandfather lived until he was 98, had 17, not just grandchildren, but great grandchildren, which is pretty cool stuff. Even on his last few days, he 98th birthday, he licked his thumb, put his thumb in the cake because he wanted the whole cake, not just a piece. So always a sense of humor, even right to his last days. And so, you know, he, as an engineer, he had lots and great of input and help all across Europe, but also across Toronto, and to make a difference. And when we look at that tapestry, I've talked to my grandma, and we call her over Oma in the family. They made those tapestries. We have 2 of them during the war, and she talks about how in those times they were tough, but you had family around you, and how today she's finding it extremely lonely and hard to get exercise in. At 93, this is a time when you are at risk of arthritis, and exercise and nutrition is so crucially important to help the mind, body, and spiritual health. So today we're going to focus on arthritis. Got lots of great things, 10 things to cover. And at the end, we are going to cover natural anti-inflammatories, things that you can do to help with arthritis at home to help be your best. So what is arthritis? It's a chronic health condition in Canada. Once you have it, you are not fixing those bones. You can't just sort of grind them down or sharpen them up. It can affect all ages, young children, right to seniors, teenagers. There's over 100, 200 different types, from your autoimmune types of arthritis to your most common osteoarthritis. And it can be no pain, and it can be extremely painful. And that's where it gets really confusing, because as it develops, you don't feel it until it's already gotten to a severe point. So if you leave arthritis untreated, it can cause permanent damage. It is definitely related to other health challenges like being obese or overweight or unfit, unactive. It can affect all parts of your body, not just your joints or your knees or your hands, but it can affect your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, even your skin. You think of psoriatic arthritis, where you can see skin infections. So it is related to other serious diseases such as heart disease and diabetes. It has a huge impact on our lives, where we can't move and do daily things just like vacuuming, cleaning, food shopping, and we just need more help, just clean our homes. And that's what leads to more mental illness, even among our seniors, leads to more anxiety, depression, lack of sleep. And that again leads to a cascade of more problems. We do have more likelihood of not being able to work, or have challenging work, not being able to work as many days, or a change of livelihood because of arthritis. It is affecting right now 1 in 5 people, most women, more women than men. And it's also affecting over 20,000 children. So it is something that's huge in our household. Like almost every family has somebody that's dealing with severe arthritis. And if we look at it, it does increase with age. 1 in 2 seniors over 65 have arthritis, but 56% of arthritis sufferers are under the age of 65. So even for myself at 47, this is something that's radically affecting me, with injuries to the neck, to the head, from playing years of contact sports and years of injuries. Those traumas start to build up and affect you. When we look at the stats, these are scary stats. By 2035, folks, that's only 15 years from now, or just under. Arthritis is going to be even worse. They're going to say that it'll be 60% of women, so that it's getting worse and worse. Instead of being 1 in 5, it'll be 1 in 4. And when we look at the diagnosed versus undiagnosed, you can see that it takes a while for that arthritis to be diagnosed, because often many of us judge our health based on how we feel. We don't have our x-rays done. We don't have our joints tested for arthritis until we tend to feel pain, rather than having the testing done before the arthritis starts, so we can work on prevention. So when we look at these challenges within arthritis, the scary part is $33 billion. And since 2018, that problem's gotten worse, not better. They feel by 2041, there'll be over $67 billion in healthcare spent on arthritis. It leads to the #1 cause of disability, and they're looking again to being 1 in 4 Canadians. So huge effect. If it's not you today, it's you in the next 20 years, or it's affecting your loved ones. When we look at these statistics, age is at the bottom, and then you can see the different colors are the years. So red is 2031, but the most important thing about this statistic and this graph is that it's getting worse, and it's getting worse quickly. And so we're going to talk about ways to prevent arthritis, as well as ways to manage it, to try and, as we talk about, flatten the curve, but to stop this massive growth of increased arthritis among our loved ones. So we're going to talk about 10 ways to manage and prevent arthritis and to manage inflammation, the causes, the exercise, the stretches, the nutrition, food to eat, not to eat, what kind of supplements to increase your energy to help with arthritis, what kind of therapies, and non-drug solutions for inflammation. So these are the 10 things. If you're a note taker, writer downer, get your pens out, and you're going to have 10 steps coming up. Now, if we get to the cause and where does arthritis start, that's probably the most important thing. We can look to different types of arthritis, and some of it can be congenital, and some of it can be due to trauma or due to lack of maintenance. So how do you know if it's you for arthritis? You're going to feel stiff. You might feel stiff after periods of rest. For me, I have numerous injuries if I sit for a lot or get out of a long car ride. Worse with different movements. I know that after 3 injuries to my knee, it doesn't bend quite the same. So loss of function, tenderness, cracking, swelling are signs that you might have areas of arthritis, or the joints in your hands, the fingers are not quite straight, or knuckles are bumpier or bigger. That will give you signs of arthritis. There are over 200 types. Yes, we're dealing with rheumatoid and autoimmune, different types of arthritis, but the most common is rheumatoid arthritis, which you can test in your blood work, and osteoarthritis, which is also called degenerative joint and disc disease, which is related to too much spinal stress, wear and tear on the joints. And that's at least something that you can do to prevent. Once you have rheumatoid arthritis, you can't prevent it, but you can help manage it. But osteoporosis and osteoarthritis, you can prevent. So if we look at this chart, you'll see the osteoarthritis. You see the primary cause is unknown. It's related to congenital findings. But the secondary cause, that's more what's happened to me. It's injuries, traumas, lack of proper maintenance. And that's something where you really can work on prevention, and different treatments can work with. When you look at the inflammatory arthritis in green, these are ones that are congenital. They affect in your blood work. Gout, you can find in gout blood work. RA factor for rheumatoid arthritis, you can find in blood work. Psoriatic arthritis, you might get different types of rash on your hands, your knee, your skin. And then the worst kind is the one in red that's life-threatening. That's septic arthritis. That's when you have an infection that starts to eat the bones. There is confusion between osteoarthritis and osteoporosis. So I like to see porosis. There's a big O, which means there's holes like Swiss cheese in the bone. So it goes from osteomalacia, osteopenia to osteoporosis. And that's when the bones have lack of minerals. They're not strong. The matrix is being affected. Bones are meant to last a long, long time, but you can, with lack of proper muscle strengthening, using the bones to build the bone strength, lack of proper calcium nutrition, you can develop osteoporosis. Now you can have osteoporosis with 0 symptoms at all. You can have osteoporosis along with osteoarthritis, degenerative joint and disc disease, and then you might or may not have symptoms at all. It is something that affects millions and millions across North America. Osteoporosis does affect women more than men, at least today. It is more common with lack of muscle strength, lack of exercise, and weight-bearing exercises. So our goal in our society now is to get our children moving, especially our young women moving, especially in the teenage years when kids are dropping gym, and in their university years not going to the gym as much. And now it's challenging, of course, that gyms and sports are closed, but this is the time to be actually building your muscles in your early 20s to making a difference in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. So what are the causes of arthritis? If you go back to the second slide there, Angela, it is related to improper nerve function and improper spine alignment, improper exercises, and improper nutrition. So we're going to cover all 3 of these areas for osteoporosis and osteoarthritis today. If we look at the typical areas of what they want to tell you, if you've got arthritis, through the conventional way is take something to just take the pain away. But when you take the pain away, it doesn't actually fix the problem. It just masks the inflammation. So ibuprofen, aspirin, naproxen, anti-inflammatories, they are also riddled with side effects. So yes, they could be a short-term solution, but long-term, these are things that you want to minimize in order to reduce the side effects, like stomach bleeding, diarrhea, nausea. So we want to be able to avoid ulcers and the damage that these things can affect. Other areas we look at Tylenol or arthritis Tylenol, we have to know that it's the #1 cause of kidney and liver failure, related to thousands of hospitalizations and even over 400 deaths a year. So we want to make sure that we're careful to use these areas in minimal amounts as a last resort instead of a first resort. If we look at aspirin, we know that it's increases risk of stroke, so we'd have to be careful with that, and increases risk of debilitating internal bleeding. So again, something that we want to minimize, not maximize, and look towards helping the arthritis in a better way. I know many people, when they feel those achy joints, they're looking for those muscle relaxants. I know when I injured my back, the MDs tried to force me to take this. I definitely got huge upset stomach. But if you look at this, huge side effects from your urinary tract to your liver to your digestion, even affecting ringing in the ears, rashes, affecting your brain and your vision. So we really want to be careful, again, to minimize these types of over-the-counter masking effects of the pain and try to get to the true cause. Medical treatments in the past, gold salves, aspirins, NSAIDs, non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, but just realizing that these do cause damage. Dr. Robert there says the more drugs known on the market, the more it's known about the side effects. So if a drug's there longer, you're probably going to know how the risks, but you're still best to minimize those risks. Now, Vioxx and Celebrex were around. And huge risks with those. Vioxx was taken off the market. They're both COX-2 inhibitors, and you're just going to see the massive amounts of side effects that go with both of them. Now, Celebrex is still on the market in North America, but not on the market in Europe. It has been pulled in Europe because of these side effects. And the biggest one when you look at Vioxx and Celebrex is the increased risk of heart disease and death. So, as I said, we do want to be cautious. Yes, Vioxx and Celebrex have been known to help decrease pain, but they don't fix the actual problem. This is more and more of the side effects. So just being very, very cautious to monitor the amounts of different things over the counter and even prescribed like NSAIDs and Celebrex, and looking for ways to try and control your arthritis and prevent your arthritis in the first place, rather than reacting afterwards with drugs that can have these side effects. So what I want to ask you is, does any of these drugs actually fix arthritis? And would any of these drugs actually fix a spine that's misaligned, or a joint that's misaligned, or muscles that are not balanced properly? For example, if the knee is stronger on the front of the leg versus weaker on the back of the leg, leading to pull of the muscles in an incorrect way, or on the inside of your knee being weak compared to the outside of your knee. And of course, the answer is none of these drugs actually fix the problem. So when we get to the root cause of the problem, we want to look at improving our nutrition, improving our strength, and managing injuries better. So just to tell you, with sports, I've injured almost everything playing hockey. 5 separated shoulders, so I know my right shoulder takes a greater beating from history of playing lacrosse and full contact hockey. 5 injuries to my knee, 3 on the right and 2 the left. So my right knee, if I'm not cautious, it just doesn't bend fully anymore. 10 years of sprained ankles. So now the ankles are loose and I constantly have to work at strengthening those. And recently, injuring my mid-back, and just recently, a year ago, looking at injuring my neck. So even at 47, dealing with arthritis in my ankles, knees, shoulder, back and neck, and it can happen to anybody. Just last Thursday at the office by myself, we don't have the staff as much, so I was doing the phone calls and the cleaning and the garbage changing, and bent over to fix a plug, hit my head on the bookcase. Now, I mean, that can happen to anybody, right? You just hit your head. But because of the years of concussions and injuries to the neck and whiplash to the neck, next thing I knew, both hands were numb, couldn't feel my hands, and had to spend the weekend, icing and doing all the different types of tractioning and therapy. So it doesn't matter what age you have. If you've had injuries, you want to address those right away, because the toughest part for me was, the next day I knew I couldn't hold a teacup, right? Because the nerves in your neck affected your hands. So these injuries, they do, even if it's just a bump on the head or a fall, they catch up with us, and it's really important to try and address them right away. So the second thing we want to talk about is spinal maintenance and why. And if we look at the nervous system on the next slide, you will be able to see that we know that our posture is important. I don't think anybody could say that it's great to have bad posture. I think everybody knows grandma says, stand up straight, put a book on your head or hold your shoulders back. We know that we want our ear over our shoulders over our hips, and our hips over our knees. That's what looks good, and that is what is good for the line of gravity going through your spine. And if you see children today, unfortunately, even the little girl that you see on your left is starting to have her head forward. And you start to see the posture, if you look in the middle, as we start to hunch, whether you have the flat back or sway back, we start to lose that posture, and then that affects our balance. And you start to see more and more people will lean towards a cane, which again affects balance and puts our posture out of line even more, and then even out of line even more as we need a walker. So our goal is to try and take care of that posture before we get to that state and work on that strengthening. And that's why coming up, we have that core strengthening class, and we've already put on YouTube the back stretching class. Now, if you look at our alignment, we're made pretty amazing. However you think our maker, it's pretty cool stuff at these angles. And when we have the proper cervical curve, that's why it's so strong. That's why they'll make bridges with an arc. So we call that the arc of life, the cervical arc, or the C curve in the neck. And then you get the dorsal curve, which is your mid-back curve, and your lumbar curve and sacral curve. All of these curves are really special in through your neck, mid-back, low back, and sacrum to help absorb shock absorption better. And then, of course, our spine is supposed to be straight from the back. That means we don't want a low shoulder or a high hip. We want to be able to make sure we don't have, for example, when we're sitting, a wallet or a phone in our pocket, because that makes us sit unevenly. We want to aim towards things that something's difficult for me, a purse or a hockey bag, not the same shoulder all the time. So keys in different shoulders, driving, not for me, like I want to put my left arm up all the time. I have to remind myself, because that will elevate my left shoulder, drop my right shoulder. So looking towards good habits on things that we do on a daily basis to maintain these amazing curves that we were given. And the cool thing is that posture is awesome because it affects the spine and the nervous system. And that nervous system is so cool. It controls every single function in your body. If you look at this chart right from your brain, it's controlling how you see, how you taste, how you smell, how your thyroid works for your energy level. So when you have arthritis in your neck, that's going to affect how you breathe, how you sleep, moods, depression, anxiety. It's going to affect blood pressure. It's going to affect numbness and tingling, like I said, into my hands, and strength into your hands. If you come down lower, it affects your heart, affects your lungs, affects the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight, stress response, anxiety response. It affects even all the way down to your digestion, how you go to the bathroom, if you're constipated, diarrhea. It's going to affect things like your immune system, your adrenal glands, your energy levels. It's going to affect going to the bathroom and the power in your legs. Really, if you think about it, is there anything that you do not need your brain for? Is there anything that your brain does not have some function and control? Even if you think of psychoneural immunology, or you think of neuroimmunology, you think of all aspects of neuropsychotherapy. Your nervous system controls all of these things. And that's why you can look up any type of Google search and you look up neuro, Neuro, you will see all the studies of how cool your nervous system is and how it controls every single thing in your body. And the goal is not to have disruption with it, for your brain to be able to send messages to all those parts of your body as fully and as naturally as possible. If you do have disruption, right, that is called a subluxation. That's a misalignment when the brain and the spinal cord is crooked. And it's just crooked a little bit of pressure. Would that be good? And the answer is no. Anytime you have pressure on your spine and nervous system, there's less of a message being able to transfer. There's more increased risk of inflammation, more increased risk of arthritis. So just a couple stories coming up. This is Nargis. She's not with us anymore, but the worst case of arthritis I have ever seen in my practice, completely bent. She walked literally on a 45-degree angle there towards the right. You can see in that left-hand posture, just minimal back pain, but so much numbness, tingling in her hands and her feet. But she had to have so many surgeries done because the nerves were damaged to all of the different organs. I can't even tell you, with from digestive surgeries and colonoscopies and heart surgeries and constant lung and breathing conditions. And I just got to know her only at 82, but by the time I met her, everything was so fused. And the goal is really, my goal is to help people before that point. And that's why we're going to come up to some of the exercises, stretches coming up. When we look at the different areas of arthritis, there's different phases of subluxation degeneration or decay arthritis. So if you look at normal in your lower back here, the bones are squares with big black spaces, big shock absorbers. Those are the discs. Have you ever heard of slip disc, degenerative disc, herniated disc? That's when your disc space gets smaller. So if you look into phase 3, phase 4, you will see that the spaces, the black spaces, are much smaller. The bones now have ugly shapes. They no longer look squares and they're closer together. So our goal, of course, is to catch the problem in normal phase 1 and to be able to address the postural concerns, the subluxations, and get the right exercise and right stretches at an early stage in order to prevent the phase 2, 3, 4, because they are much harder, if not impossible, to fully correct. So Rosa is somebody pretty special to me. Again, no longer with me, but just I'll never forget. I did lots of home visits with her. She was a national level athlete with her husband. And just very flexible, always focused on fitness, but had a scoliosis and had severe degenerative disc in her lower back, which affected just the movement of her foot. She had drop foot, could no longer walk or move the same. And it just really affected her entire life. And so just somebody really special. And you guys have special people in your lives too. She's Dutch too, and Dutch family. And I got to know the rest of the family. And just, we want to take care of our loved ones and really focus on taking care of them before arthritis hits. So when we look at the neck, it's very similar. We have similar phases of degeneration, and we want to have that C curve in the neck. That means that the ear is over the shoulders, not forward like this, like we would when we're working, studying, reading, or on a phone, because otherwise that disc space, that black disc space, and the square bones start to go away, and it's harder and harder to correct. So if you look at Jamie did not have neck pain at all. He had dizziness, trouble with sleeping, numbness and tingling in his arms, ringing in his ears. He had heartburn, and the nerves, the vagus nerve at the top of the neck, will affect all the way down to your digestion. And yet by the time I met him at 66, you can see in this x-ray on the front of the bones, he is completely fused in the front of his neck. Something you absolutely cannot correct. There's no adjustment. There's no massage. There's no surgery to fix how much fusion had happened. That meant that this problem, unbeknownst to him, with no pain, had been going on for over 20 to 25 years. And that's the scary part to me, is that people have these problems, these arthritic problems building up, and they judge their health based and their arthritis based on how they feel, rather than getting the problems dealt with, getting the proper assessments done earlier. And Linda, she came in with ears, ringing ears, sense of the eyes, and really she came in for her knee and her hip. And again, same thing. She had no idea that she was fused in her neck. You can see basically from C3 through down to C7 on the front of the neck, the ALL, the anterior longitudinal ligament, just completely fused with something called DISH, diffuse idiopathic skeletal hyperostosis. So the bones basically just fuse. She becomes a tin man, even though she had no neck pain. But how we were able to diagnose this before x-ray is that we asked her to turn her neck, and she'd turn like this, just couldn't bend fully either side to her neck. I can't move my neck quite that well right now after hitting my head. So same kind of thing, not able to bring it all the way down to have that full range of motion. And so very, very important to test yourself. Can you turn your shoulder, like I've injured my neck, but your chin all the way over to your shoulder and both sides? And can you bring your ear all the way down or rotate all the way over? And if you don't have full range of motion, that likely means that arthritic process is starting, and you want to see your chiropractor or your osteopath as soon as you're able. So we know that certain things make arthritis worse. One, carrying weight in front of your body, carrying big boxes or furniture, slouching in your chair, sleeping with big fluffy pillows, forcing your head forward, bending or lifting improperly. And that's why I did numerous videos now on YouTube on lifting. And lots of increased time on sitting. Sitting is the enemy. And we're going to go over more of those information exercises coming up. So the challenge right now is a lot of people are on technology, whether it's iPhones or iPads, and it brings our heads forward. And that causes a lot of pull on the spinal cord, 5 to 7 centimeters. It pulls and stretches that spinal cord. And if, like myself, who've injured the disc in your neck, flexion of your neck makes your neck that much worse. So if your head is right over your shoulders in the first one, your body is handling the weight of gravity of that 10-pound head. But if you have your head 45 degrees forward, just on an angle, that makes your head about 49 pounds. Right? That's a lot of weight. And if you bend your head 60 degrees forward, it makes your head around 60 pounds. So definitely looking to get your devices up high in front of your head, to use a large screen if you can, or to prop your devices, or even at the dollar store, they now have different sort of plastic holders and on Amazon to hold your device up high so you can have your head in an erect position. When we're dealing with lifting, remember the box or the object or the laundry close to your body, good sound foundation, and keep the curve of your neck and your lower back. That means keep your bum up, head up, object close to your body, and test the load first. But please check my videos that I've already done on lifting pots outside and lifting your laundry. So 10 ways, we've covered the cause, spinal maintenance. Let's get into exercise, stretching, and nutrition. So some of the exercises that we want to do, we know that the more you build muscle, the more you build bone. Next. All right, cartoon for you. I toss and turn all night, and you won't count that as an 8-hour aerobic workout. Well, of course it doesn't count. We need to be weight bearing for those exercises as much as possible. You want to be engaging your muscles. So we want to move your body as much as possible at any age. If you can put all 3 things up there, thank you. Doesn't matter what age you're at, the more you move, the more you use the muscles, that will help with building bone for osteoporosis, help even with prevention of cancer and heart disease. I don't think anybody ever can argue that exercise is not a good thing for you. We just have to modify it if we're injured, or modify it for our current health level. So it is even good for 90-year-olds. So even for my 93-year-old grandma, Mika, they have Sit and Fit, even though she's in lockdown, not able to leave her apartment and all food is delivered to her. She has Sit and Fit, where they sit in a chair and listen to it over the PA. Now, I wish it was once or twice a day instead of once or twice a week, but hopefully, we can encourage more of our seniors to do, if they're able to use the TV to follow a program, Sit and Fit, within their own apartments, because we know that even 90-year-olds following an 8-week resistance program that's using their muscles program can improve their strength by over 170%. That's massive, folks. That means better balance, better strength, better longevity. We know that sitting is the enemy. The more you sit, the fatter, the more obese we get, the more diabetes, and you cannot just go for a walk once a day. And this is the scary thing in these times. I'm hearing patients, I went for a walk today. I walked 5K, but then we sat for 6 to 8 hours. You cannot walk for 5K, 10K, and undo the effects of sitting all day. And if we are sitting 8 hours a day, that includes eating time, that increases your risk of type 2 diabetes. So they know, when we look at sitting time, when they compare men to women, if this is a study done on over 7,000 healthy adults, that if you stand for a quarter of the day, so stand to read, stand to do your emails, stand to cook, stand to clean, stand to watch TV, but walk on the spot to watch TV or watch Netflix. If you stand, that will lower your risk by 32% of obesity, and half the day by almost 60%. And it's similar results for women. So anything you can do to stand more is better. We know that sitting cannot exercise, even if you're a marathon runner. Sitting and running for 2 hours a day cannot undo the effects of sitting 10 hours plus a day. It increases your risk of dying prematurely if we're sitting the majority of the day. And it increases, as we sit more, not only does it increase our risk of premature death, but it increases our risk of arthritis, achy joints. So we want to have standing desks. I did do a video on using a box or a $20 stand from from Amazon or Staples. Drink more water. So you got to get up to go to the bathroom more often. This is the time to try to focus on hydrating those discs. The discs are 80% water, so the more water you drink, the better. Parking further away, taking multiple walks in the day instead of just one big long one, maybe 3 walks throughout the day, 2 short ones and 1 longer one. Using the stairs as often as possible instead of the lazy man load, carrying everything at once. Do multiple chips. If we are sitting on a balance ball, so that we have to engage the stomach muscles and try to get as much stretching done. If we are at home in lockdown, let's focus on doing stretching twice a day, really focusing on improving our flexibility instead of and creating good habits and good routines. So let's go into the stretching routines that we can start. Definitely, I do have stretching for your back, stretching for your neck, stretching for your upper back on YouTube now. But if we are at the desk, some of the things we can do is stretching, pulling our hands wide apart, and then in, and then wide. If you have arthritis, you can do this under the hot water. If you have arthritis, you can use wax, paraffin wax, to put it all around your hands and around your feet, just like if you were getting a fancy pedicure. And the deep penetrating heat, and then after you take the heat off, to do the exercises to squeeze a ball for your hand, squeeze a sponge under the hot water, to squeeze with your toes in a sponge in the shower, in the bathtub, to get the toes and hands moving. Coming up, we are going to have a wellness talk on arthritis and plantar fasciitis and balance and exercises for your feet. That's coming up May 12th. But if we look at even just the shoulders, if everybody does that with me, getting the shoulders moving, rolling them to the back, up and down, and making a habit, setting an alarm on your phone to keep that movement. If we're finding that we're leaning forward more often, whether we're on a computer, we're driving more, we're sitting more, one of the biggest ones, if we put your hands back, stretching your shoulders back, pulling your elbows back, and then relax. And then as you do, instead of just the stretch, squeeze between your shoulder blades. Feel that tension and squeeze between your shoulder blades. Hold it for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And the same thing for your neck stretches. I did a video on how to do those, as well as how to do self-trigenic. So stretch while you put pressure on your neck. So pressure while you move your neck in different directions. There are videos that I've done for those. But there's a difference between what's called a static stretch and a dynamic stretch. So a static stretch is just a stretch and hold, or a stretch and slight pressure hold. Or a dynamic stretch would be like a bell-like movement or circular movement from side to side to warm up those joints. And when you're doing a dynamic stretch, you don't go all the way to pressure to pain. You go to about 60% till you just feel it to warm up those joints. That's why I showed it in the shower, because you can do it when your neck is, your upper back and lower back are warm. Lower back stretches, the cat stretch that you see there is great. I do that in the shower every single day. The second one, the hip flexor stretch, great for your lower back. That's in all of our videos. And then the slight back extension that you see on the right is great for a slight McKenzie injury, great for those with a degenerative joint and disc disease in the lower back, degenerative L5, L4, doing a slight pump McKenzie exercise program to open up that disc space, and lastly, to stretch the glutes. And if you're not able to do it because of balance, standing, you could do similar stretch sitting or laying on your back. All right, getting into number 5, foods not to eat. I know nobody likes this one, but coming up right afterwards are the foods to add, so hang in there. So foods to avoid to keep the joint strong, reduce inflammation, help with muscle spasm, and don't have any side effects. We want to look at the foods to add with no side effects and the foods to avoid that, of course, increase your inflammation. So some of the things, the biggest one is soft drinks and pop, artificial sugars that definitely will increase inflammation. Caffeine in moderation, definitely will try to go with the organic coffee beans if you can. Processed foods, that's things in a box, a can, a container, and especially looking at lunch meats, things with high nitrates, looking at our snacks to make sure that we're looking towards healthier snacks. One of the things I recommend there is it's hard to prep vegetables and celery every single day, but if you prep it sort of every other day or 3 times a week, you will be able to prepare your snacks, and when they're ready, it's easier to eat them. If you have to prepare them every time you go for the snacks, usually you're going to go for the quick things. So be very cautious with that. Look at your alcohol consumption. I know that they're still open right now, but less is better. And definitely over-the-counter table salt. Look for that sea salt, Himalaya salt, and reduce sugar as much as possible, because diets high in sugar, high in artificial sugars, like in pop and soft drinks, will increase the risk of osteoarthritis, inflammation, and osteoporosis. All right, what foods to add? This is the better part for everybody. Definitely those healthy fats. So staying away from your vegetable oils, your canola oils, staying away from your deep fried foods, and adding your fishes. Add your fish oils, your avocados, your olive oil, flaxseed oils, udo's oil for your vegetarian omega-3s, almonds, hazelnuts, pumpkin seeds. Look to have your hemp seeds. Look to have your chia seeds, but we want to add essential oils. Want to reduce your arthritis? Add turmeric. You can add that. Blake put that on our vegetables. It tasted great. Ginger, my son today, we have quite a bit of it at home. He made ginger and water with lemon. It's also adding your omega-3 foods, so your flaxseed, chia seeds, hemp seeds, cherries, pineapple has bromelain, and things like apple cider vinegar. That's something that we would have to make foods and make salad dressings so easily within the home to have on a regular basis. Some people even just have it mixed with water and just take a half a glass of that daily to reduce inflammation. Easy one in the morning to prepare your ginger and your lemon. To have ginger and lemon water in the morning can help with reducing inflammation. Other foods that we can add: papaya, avocado, cherries, broccoli, red cabbage, blueberries, walnuts, celery. I mean, these are foods that we want to have regular staples in the home. I know sometimes people are concerned about how do I use the chia seeds. Look up on our website how to make chia pudding, chocolate pudding with no sugar, using natural sugars. How do you add it to your smoothies? How to add it to your salads? How to add it to cereal or oatmeal? So something along with your hemp seeds that you want to try and see if you can add on a daily basis. Other ways to get your calcium better. I know many people were told to take a calcium supplement. My mom was in the past, and now they've changed their recommendations. That is the recommendations from 15 years ago. Now, minimal people need to add a calcium supplement. If they do, it might be a calcium magnesium supplement, but always best to get it from real foods when you can. All of your minerals and supplements from the real food. So looking to add more deep leafy greens on a daily basis. Look to add half the plate twice a day of deep leafy greens or things that are green: collards, mustard greens, kale, turnip. Add those greens. Now, if you're not used to them, like for me, mustard greens, collard greens, not something I'm used to, didn't grow up with it. I was definitely a picky eater. So I have to get used to those with adding different types of, whether it's apple cider vinegar or cheese, to just get myself used to it. So these are the times to try new recipes. Even my daughter yesterday made muffins with spinach in them, or using zucchini. If you're making lasagna, instead of using pasta, use zucchini. So look towards finding ways to add more of these healthy foods to improve your calcium in your body. Some of the ways to increase your calcium absorption, definitely vitamin D. So this is on our counter. This is what we sell, but it's also just what we have on our counter in my own home, the vitamin D. So it's easy for everybody, helps our body deal with calcium along with magnesium and vitamin K and zinc. Of course, vitamin C, D, zinc, K, all good for your immune system and to help your body as well. And your B vitamins, very, very important to help with your body managing stress. And anytime you manage stress is always a good thing. And Angela, we'll just change that slide. There we go. All right, so number 7, some of the supplements. We know that we can't get everything from our food, so a good source multivitamin, essential oil, get those omega-3s, vitamin D and vitamin B. Finding out how much you need from your naturopath or your medical doctor would be best. To test your levels for D and B would be the best right up front if you can. During these tough times, a multivitamin essential oil with omega-3s, vitamin D anywhere between 2,000 to 5,000, and a B supplement like a B complex would be great to improve your energy and help your joints function better. But to help specifically with supplements for arthritis, you can be adding vitamin C always a good time in flu season, always a good time to help with our joints. GLA is another essential oil. Glucosamine, you do have to make sure you spread it out through the day. So typically you will have it 3 times a day. Chondroitin sulfate can help with arthritis, but in minimal amounts. It's often mixed with that glucosamine and natural anti-inflammatories, like MSM, Boswellia, or quercetin are natural anti-inflammatories that help with arthritis, and vitamin D3. Again, looking at the amounts of these supplements, it's great to talk to your naturopath as soon as they're back. And I know we're missing everybody some of the therapies that would be great for arthritis, like massage, acupuncture, naturopathy, physiotherapy, things that we have in our clinic. Currently, they are not essential care. We miss them. I know you miss them. These are things that can definitely help. But if you can't reach them, I did do a video on massage, how to massage your loved one. And I'm massaging my daughter. So 5 techniques to work on massage. There are ways to learn acupressure points to help as a massage on those acupressure points. Looking up different physiotherapy, different exercises and stretches will certainly help with arthritis. That's why I have the video coming up May 12th for people who have foot, ankle, knee, hip pain, and arthritis in those areas. That video is coming up, and for those with arthritis of the lower back, that video is there for you already. And those with challenges of your neck and upper back, that video is there already for you on YouTube. Chiropractic care is essential care. We are open for acute conditions or to avoid serious relapse of chronic conditions. Unfortunately, we're not able to do wellness, purely wellness care for our children, but we look forward to having that back and working on that prevention soon. So we're getting into the part that I like the best, 10 non-drug solutions for pain and inflammation. So let's get into this part here. The first one, we talked a little bit, no processed foods, but we didn't mention grains. So grains, sometimes dairies, can increase inflammation, and it definitely processed sugars. So this is the time where you can look at an inflammatory diet, which is no sugars, increase good healthy fats, improving our healthy meats with grass-fed, free-range, and wild fish, so that we can improve our insulin and leptin resistance. We talked a little bit about vitamin D3, increasing the vitamin D3, yes, as a supplement, but it has those beautiful days like today. My husband and I went for a walk, the weekend go for a walk. This is the time to get, the best way is to get that sunshine, get outside and get some fresh air. I was really, really happy on my walk with my husband today to see our neighbors just sitting outside on their front kind of veranda, and they're seniors, just to get some sunshine, just to get some fresh air. So the more we can get outside, the better. Astaxanthin is a fat-soluble antioxidant. It has anti-inflammatory properties. I take this daily. It's like an oil. You can take it as a supplement. Ginger, you can get capsules, but I prefer the real deal if you can, as an anti-inflammatory. Adding it to your foods, your stir fries, adding it to water, adding it to tea. Curcumin, turmeric, you can take it as a capsule. That's personally how most days that I would do it, especially after just injuring my neck, or if I've injured a joint working out or playing sports. But you can add it to your foods, your curries, and that would be extremely healthy. It has a curcuminoids that help block those inflammatory pathways and help with the overproduction of protein that will affect pain and swelling. So curcumin, some of our patients will have a little bit of it with a little bit of milk and be able to have like an ounce of it, like a shot of it, to reduce inflammation, as well as add it to their cooking. Boswellia, also known as Indian Frankenstein, is a herb. It's anti-inflammatory, also very helpful in rheumatoid arthritis, often added along with curcumin, turmeric, in with your glucosamine, bromelain. You can often get an all-in-one supplement to have all of these areas, or you can do it separately. Bromelain's found in pineapples, anti-inflammatory. Just be careful of how much sugar you get with the pineapple, but definitely pineapples, cherries are things that we can add to reduce inflammation. CMO is another oil found in your healthy fish or dairy butters. It's like a joint lubricant and it's anti-inflammatory. Anytime you're adding supplements, though, in the end, it would be best to talk to a naturopath to make sure you are getting the right amounts for you. So in these tough times when our naturopaths are not essential, not able to work, I would start small and then gradually build to make sure that your body can handle it. Number 9 is primrose oil, blackcurrant oil, borage oil. All of these essential fatty acid oils that have gamma-linoleic acid, GLA, are all used and helpful for arthritic pain. Cayenne cream, capsaicin cream, it's a warm cream from hot peppers, or even having hot sauce, hot foods can help with preventing the transmission of pain, nociception to those nerve cells. So warm creams, I use a warm cream at the office on our patients. So there's definitely one of the things that can support. As well as looking at foundation mind-body techniques. That is a little more challenging to find a practitioner right now, but one of the things that you can do is yoga to help with stretching, and we will have a class on a 15-minute class on yoga, and then our goal is to be able to perhaps have a yoga once a week at a minimum cost of $5. That's what we're trying to do, is just very, very low cost to just keep engaged on a Zoom yoga class, but then still have a small group of, say, 10, so that it's still personalized and can be, each person can be corrected by the instructor, Aisha. Number 12, medical cannabis or CBD oil, something that my mom uses with her arthritis. I've used it with arthritis, and many of my seniors can be very helpful. Definitely talking to your medical doctor about it to make sure, but it does help with arthritis, does help reduce with pain. Using hot and cold, we want to use cold when you have an emergency inflammation. So like when I hit my head and it jarred my neck, right away, I'm using ice to sleep. That helps reduce inflammation for emergency or injury that happened recently. As the injury progresses, then you want to go to hot, cold, hot, cold. So that would be 10 minutes on of cold to 15 minutes, depending on how thick that body part is, but till it feels kind of numb. And then you would go opposite heat for approximately 10 to 15 minutes and alternate. If it is a muscular, heat is great to help reduce the muscle tension. And then as you become arthritic, like I said, with using the heat in the sink, or using the paraffin wax on your hands or your joints, using heat like rubbing and through massage, stimulating heat can help arthritic joints as well, especially even just movement. So we talked about movement of your hands and circular of your hands. You will see in the exercise classes, we talk about alphabet exercises for your ankles and toe exercises to help arthritis through all of our different joints in our body. Number 14 today is grounding. That's walking barefoot. Little bit cold right now, but as the spring's coming, and we saw woodpecker today. We're hearing the birds. We're seeing the bunny rabbits. We're seeing the squirrels. We know spring's coming. So to walk on the bare earth is known to help connection with the earth, connection with nature, which helps with inflammation. Emotional freedom technique, there are practitioners who do, it's called a tapping technique. So you tap through your different joints of your body, and with different positive affirmations, it can help with inflammation. You can Google this, YouTube this. It is always better to get a practitioner. You will find you relax better. But in the short term, since you can't find a practitioner that would be open during these tough times, I recommend Googling it. You can often find just a one-page summary to try it on yourself, as well as just meditation breathing to help lower stress overall. As you lower stress overall, you lower muscle tension overall, which will help with arthritis. All right. Again, I want to share some great things with you about arthritis. It is something that in my 40s is starting to affect me because of injuries in my youth, and in my 20s and my 30s. But it affects everybody. And so definitely want you to be able to share this information, share all the YouTube clips. They're all free, just giving to all of my patients, their families, their friends. And so coming up about strengthening your core, that means your mid back and your stomach, your back, how to strengthen your back, what are exercises you can do. And I did a fun one on strengthening your body with your coffee table, and it's just 5 exercises with your coffee table that are all core related as well, and that's already on our website. The one for your feet, I was telling you about your foundation. Improving your sleep is also very good with arthritis, so that's coming up. Brain fit, protecting the right foods to protect your brain, to protect with stress, that's coming up as well. So stay tuned for our Tuesday classes. I'm thinking about you. I know we miss you so much. You have no idea how much we miss you, and we miss our team. But we're right along with you. We know that these are tough times, and we want to stick with you and want to help you regardless if we can't see all of you at this time. Brain Fit, this is normally we do our makeovers in the big room with food and movies and video clips and exercises, but this is what's coming up. I will do it. It will be a longer webinar coming up Tuesday, May 26th. Share this. Tell anybody who wants to think better, have less stress, have better memory, protect themselves from arthritis, from Alzheimer's, dementia, brain fog. And I know that the more sluggish we get, the more our memory seems to go. So this is a good time to try to remind ourselves to get our brains back on track and active.